Okay, so just to preface, 2 days ago I was at work teaching code, and Rob Lund sent out an email about 3:45ish and said, "Hey, we need somebody to give a speech over at Big Sky DevCon." So don't judge if I have ugly-looking slides or I'm unprepared. I think I'll do fine. So, yeah. The idea today is I'm going to be talking about code schools, why as an employer you should hire code school students, because I think they learn a lot of good things and they learn a lot of good skills. So I'm going to start off with, as a lot of my students in here know, I like to tell stories, so we'll start with a story. So, about last year, August, I was coming home from my mechanical engineering job, and it was annual review day. And during my review, my bosses, I had two of them, they couldn't say anything bad about my performance. They were like, "You're doing great. You helped this business so much. We appreciate everything you do." And I'm like, "How about criticism? I want to get better, guys, you know?" And he's like, "Oh, no, nothing. You're doing great. Just keep doing what you're doing." And he's like, "You're on the way to management. You'll be there any day." And of course, what do we all look for annual reviews? A better paycheck, right? So he passes over the paper like, "All right, here's your pay raise for the month," and it's like 1.5%. I was like, "Kidding me?" I'm like doing everything I can. You're saying I'm amazing, and there's nothing I could do to improve, but I'm getting less than the inflation increase for the year. So I got home that day. I talked to my girlfriend Aria, and I was like, "Hey, like, this isn't cutting it. I need something different. I'm really good at my job. I like what I do, but the industry is just not there." My family has been involved in manufacturing. They've worked in factories their whole lives. I've seen where they work. I've associated with those people. I worked for General Motors for a while at a manufacturing facility in New York. I worked for a company called Parker Hannifin for a while, manufacturing facility. And what I found as the big consistency was that the industry is just very stale, outdated, old-fashioned. A lot of the guys in charge are these old, crusty white guys, ballpark age 50 to 60, and they're running the show. And when it comes to new ideas, new technologies, very oftentimes they're not willing to try new things out, try new ideas out. He was speaking just a bit ago like, "Hey, let's try one of these new ideas and run with it." You didn't see that happen at any of these companies because this is the way it's always been. This works. This is what we're going to keep doing. And it was an environment that was stale, and I didn't feel like it was my environment, my people, and I wanted an improvement in my day-to-day life, not only at work, but my work-life balance as well. I spent countless hours, late nights, trying to do as good of a job as I could do, and I felt like it just wasn't good enough. So, actually forgot to skip to this slide, but so that being said, I started taking an online course. I found a local trade school, and they were offering some HTML, CSS classes. I was like, "I'll try it out, see what I think about it." Kind of piqued my interest. I was like, "This is cool. I can take image files, put them on a page, make my, style it up, make it look kind of cool." I played around with that for a little while, and my girlfriend had worked with a couple of developers, and they had mentioned, oh, there's these things called boot camps. I was like, oh, check it out, see what that looks like. So we were in Ohio at the time, and we're like, we want to make a move out west at some point because we're big in the outdoors, we love to adventure. And so I was looking in the Salt Lake region, and they've got like 3 or 4 boot camps out there. I looked at each one, I researched, found a place that I thought I could fit in really well, and I applied. I was like, oh, what's the worst that happens? They say no, you're not good enough, you don't have the mindset for it. So I applied, did like an on-the-phone interview, and they were like, hey, I think you're going to be a really good applicant. Here, take this code challenge. And it was 11 JavaScript code challenges that I had a week to complete. And I was like, Java, what? I've never used, like, I don't know what JavaScript is. I've never heard of this. Like, I didn't know anything in terms of computer software or web development. I just was like, okay, well, it looks like I gotta jump on lynda.com, see what kind of tutorials I can find. And within a day, I took like a 6-hour lynda.com tutorial. The following day, I completed all 11, got them right on like within my first few tries. They were like, you're accepted. I was like, awesome. I was scared because I'm like, that's in Utah. I'm in Ohio. I have to quit my job. I have to kind of like just take this leap of faith, and it's scary. So, I'm going to stop with that. What I want to get out of that, what I want you guys to get out of that is to understand where a majority of boot camp goers come from is something like my background. A majority of boot camp students have several years of experience in the workforce. A lot of them, 71% of them, have a bachelor's degree of some sort. A lot of them are driven. A lot of them have like this they are engaged, they want to learn, they want to, do the best they can. And I think it's a type of person that you want at your company, not necessarily their background or skill set. If you can find somebody who's engaged, who's actively working towards becoming a better person and outputting better results, that's a great employee. If I have a business, if I ever grow in my business, that's the type of person I want in my business. So, going back to this, why should we hire these bootcamp grads? Why don't we just hire all the CS grads? Do they know enough about the material? Do they know enough about the higher level structure of how to code, how to develop these softwares? And of course, bootcamp grads, what do we have? 3 months of experience. It's not a whole lot. So I'll get back to that. So, a little bit about me. So I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm Nick Marucci. I'm currently the lead instructor at Montana Code School. Several of you in here, I see, are attending currently. Prior to that, of course, like I said, I worked as a product development engineer at Parker-Hannifin. I went to the University at Buffalo for my bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and I was also in the military. I worked supply chain management. Just before coming here, I attended Dev Mountain Code School down in Provo, Utah. That is also a 13-week program where you're learning everything from HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Angular, Node, and Mongo as your main curriculum. It's a very fast approach. You learn a lot, and it can be stressful at times, but the amount of learning that you get out of these programs is amazing. After I was done with that program, I mentored for them. I helped students. Lauren's here. She's also in kind of that same program right now where she's teacher's assistant at the school and she's helping people, get through, like, if they have questions or if they can't figure out where to find the bug, like errors pop up, she's there to help them. And then I also volunteered to teach several classes at the school, and then following, I was approached by Montana Code School to come out here. So, why did I select to go to a boot camp as opposed to going to get my CS degree? I looked at colleges, I looked at attending a university. I had already completed my bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and I was just like, that's another 4 years. I'm going to have to go to school. I'm going to have to take all these gen ed courses. That's going to be another $50,000 to $60,000 in tuition that I'm going to have to pay. I already used my GI Bill, so that's coming out of my pocket this time. Or I can attend a code boot camp, which nationally on average is about $12,000. At Dev Mountain was around 9,500. Montana Code School is around 8,000. So it's in the ballpark of. And beyond the cost commitment, it's huge time commitment. If I can learn as much as I can learn to be marketable in the field of computer science and web development in 3 months as opposed to 3 or 4 years, I'm going to take that. I value my time. So that was one of the big driving factors for me going into it was I don't have 4 years to just sit around and take these classes with the hope that I'll find a job at the end of it. I'd rather take the 3-month approach and move forward with that. The other thing with attending a college as opposed to attending a boot camp, you've got an education at a college. So you're learning these broad ideas, you're learning high theoretical ideas, maybe you're looking at data structures, and maybe you're looking at some of these very just out there approaches where there's more theoretical thought, you're reading books, you're doing these upper level challenges and exercises where I just want to get down, I wanted to do it. So I think we learn by doing, more than just talking about it and thinking about it. By actually getting down and dirty and actually typing the code day in, day out, you're going to learn. You're going to learn very fast too. From day one at Dev Mountain Bootcamp to the last day of school there, I was coding. Same process here at Montana Code School. We are coding every single day. There isn't a day that we go that we're not coding something. So the process that we take in these schools, just to get an idea, if you're an employer and you're wondering well, what are you actually doing there? What are you coding? What's the process? We're going through, we're learning from day one, GitHub, making sure that everybody understands how to retain all their code, push it to GitHub. We're learning group dynamics at GitHub, so being able to look at creating branches, merging, doing pull requests, everything like that. We're learning the fundamentals of HTML and CSS, how to mock up images. Maybe you work for a company as a front-end developer and you have designers on board. Those designers are creating those mock-ups for you, and you have to make exact replicas of that, keeping in mind the very detail-orientedness of that project. If you're a project manager, you want to make sure these things line up, and when you've got responsiveness on your pages, that things are moving where they should be, and just that very high detail-oriented fashion of understanding how to organize those things on a page. We are going through that process. We're also learning logic of JavaScript. We're going through being able to manipulate our DOM. We're going through using jQuery to do API requests. We're getting all the way from the front end, going into the back end. We're using Node. We're using MongoDB as a database. And then as a front end framework, we're looking at things like React and Angular We might even get some outside, I guess, instructors coming in and teaching us some other technologies like SQL and some higher level things that maybe we don't necessarily get in our core curriculum. So it's nice to work with the community and get those people in and get the students networking so that they have people to talk to when they finish up with a class. For me, I was scared. It was hard. Coding's hard. And it was definitely a leap of faith. I was hoping, I quit my $65,000 a year job as a mechanical engineer, hoping for a better workplace, a better life, better work-life balance. But in the end, I learned a lot of coding skills. I made a lot of cool-looking things. And then at the end, I was able to help others do the same thing, which was very rewarding. So, going back to these things, why should we hire these grads? Well, bootcamp grads, they've got the ability to learn quickly. Like I said, the first challenge that we give every student coming into the class is, I don't care if you've never seen JavaScript in your life, I need you to learn it very quickly and apply it. And that proves to us that they have the ability to go out, be resourceful, look up things, look up tutorials, figure ways out of learning these things fast, and then by the time they get to the school, we're fire hosing them. You can ask any one of them, how quickly have we learned? Very fast. In the first 3 to 4 weeks, their mind is so overloaded that it's hard to think anymore. I think Lance's speech slowed down since we started the class. I don't know if that's a matter of just overloading his brain, but we go very fast. It's like our brain is like a sponge, and we can retain only so much. And as soon as that sponge starts to dry out again, we fill it back up again. And so if there's anything that a bootcamp grad can do that maybe you won't see out of a CS grad is we're gonna teach them how to learn very fast. You've got a different language than what we teach at the school. They're probably going to be able to pick that up and learn it very quickly. Second thing, these people, like I said, they were just like me. They were driven, they're engaged, they want to learn. Most likely they're educated, they have a bachelor's degree of some sort maybe, but they're engaged. And as an employee, that's a great employee. You want somebody who comes to work, they're excited to work, they're excited to do a good job, they're excited to help the customer out with their needs, they're excited to solve problems. I think that's invaluable. That's a great asset to have in your company. And then the other thing is with those CS grads, I've talked to several people who have taken computer science courses and gotten their degree, and they get to a company and it takes them a while to actually dig into that code because they haven't been coding every single day. They haven't been like engulfed in code all day long. So when they get to your company, they're going to be able to come in, even though maybe they don't know exactly your code structure, they don't know exactly what projects you're working on and how you plan those out, they can at least come in and look at your code and kind of understand what's going on and be able to go through, and if there's a problem, they have the skills to debug. They have the skills and tools necessary and even resources necessary to go into your code and learn that code very quickly and dive into it. This is funny too. The typical boot camper's 31. That's in the world. I think in the United States, Stack Overflow did a survey, and it said that the average web developer is 29.6 years old. I think I'm exactly that.
Can I ask, are those stats for the Montana code schools, or
these stats are from Course Report? I put in the link.
But is that course report, like, is that commenting on, like, all boot camps?
Mm-hmm.
Or?
All boot camps were Montana Code School. Montana Code
Right,
School is
okay.
relatively new, so
Right.
I doubt they were in this 2015 survey. Oh, I lost my, there it is. And then the last thing is, are these people actually being placed? And they are. Nationally, in 3 months, 79% of them are being placed into web developer jobs, front-end engineer, full-stack engineer, whatever the case, they're being placed. When I was at Dev Mountain, their rate was at 94%, and Dev Mountain is well established. So there's a difference there. You'll see a slower kind of work your way up with new boot camps. New boot camps might be a little bit lower at first, but as they develop, as the staff becomes, engulfed in the community and their networking, and more companies know about the boot camp, these numbers will increase. Like I said, 94% at Dev Mountain was in 3 months. So after graduation, a majority of those students are in full-time jobs as web developers. And these aren't just like no-name companies too. These are big-name companies that are hiring these people. Even like if you look at a lot of Silicon Valley, Facebook, Google, they're hiring people from boot camps. Locally in Utah, when I was down there, companies like MX, Overstock.com, Jane.com, and many more, Domo, hiring bootcamp grads. And these are well-established, big-name companies that are pulling in these people, and they're utilizing them, and they're growing. And then the last thing, I think this is an interesting thing, because one argument with, well, these bootcamp grads, they're only going to be entry-level hires. Well, with a CS degree, you're going to be an entry-level hire also. But by the time you finish your CS degree, your same peers who may have gone to your bootcamp are going to have another 3 years of experience by the time you finish your degree. So I think that's something to keep in mind as well. The last thing is to kind of wrap up here. Bozeman is growing in terms of technology. It's becoming this tech hub. I think these boot camps, not only are they giving you access to highly developed coders and highly skilled coders, and when it comes down to the actual code itself, but not only that, but we're creating a more diverse workplace. I don't know how many of you have CS degrees, but I know that when I was in college, we had a engineering class of about 1,000 students, and I think there was like 10 girls in there. The rate of women in boot camps is 36%. The rate is increasing dramatically, especially when we have guys like Devin Holmes and Doug Walter. They're going out and they're starting boot camps for girls only, which is amazing. That's great. We need more diversity in the workforce, and that creates a better work experience overall. So I think the boot camps are also helping those trends, because for the longest time we've trended in the wrong direction. So not only that, it grows the local community. The retention rate, so once again I'm going to bring up Dev Mountain because that's what I'm mostly experienced with. Dev Mountain pulled in 200 students from 12 countries and over 30 states. Of those 200 students that came from many places around the world, 65% of those students stayed in the local area in the Salt Lake region, which is pretty amazing. Not only are you retaining those people are skilled. Those people have an education. Those people are technologically advanced. You can use those to build your local community, not only with your business. But as we continue with time, boot camps becoming more prevalent, they're becoming more accepted. More companies are pulling in these boot camp students, and I think Montana should as well. That is all that I have. Do I have any questions?
I have a question. I'm curious about a couple of things. One, I'm curious how you got from Salt Lake City to Bozeman. Like what was the story behind you actually landing in Montana?
Okay.
And I'm also curious about, like, as a person searching for their next thing, how, like, what was your process? Where did you go online? What were you looking for? And just a little bit of background. I'm Christina Henderson. I'm with the Montana High Tech Business Alliance. And so our biggest, like, we represent 275 member companies across Montana. And we have a jobs portal, so all of you who are in code school, please go to our jobs portal. Half of our jobs at any given time are typically programming and development. So we're working on this problem of, like, how do we find people like you who are looking for, like, I want to go to a mountain state and start a new career, whatever. Like, so I'm interested in, like, you know, how can I reach you?
Right. Well, okay, so there's several questions there. First one, how did I get here? Well, I was finishing up my term. I was mentoring, like I said, at Dove Mountain in Utah. And because I was new to the area, I noticed one thing about the Salt Lake region that was difficult was a lot of people who did have job opportunities in Salt Lake were local to the area and had a really good network. I didn't have that network. So I had my abilities and the best that I could, display those abilities. My girlfriend's cousin lives in town, and so she kind of like said, "Hey, you should check out Bozeman and see if there's anything." So I looked at Bozeman. Looks great. It's a mountain town. I love the mountains. I love climbing. I love trail running, things like that, and I was like, yeah, I'll check it out. At first, I was like, I don't know, there's not a whole lot of, I didn't see too many opportunities at first. And then after I really started looking, when I started getting close to the end of my mentorship program, there's actually a lot out here. And I applied to a couple places out here, and I don't think there was much of a network involved. Applied to a couple places in Montana Code School, like within an hour was like, you're exactly what we've been looking for. Come work for us. You would be great. So that was kind of how I got here. So I can't say that there was much of a networking thing or any kind of program that I went through that made my way here. How can you get people like me here? That's a good question. I know that I'm big in the outdoors. I know a big group of outdoor people. The thing is, I guess, is knowing that this is a growing tech hub might be useful. Because for me, I'm just like, I don't know to me, coming from like New York and Ohio and Utah, I'm like, I don't know what's in Montana, right? So just even knowing that this was an option probably would have been helpful.
I wonder how do this might be beyond the scope of what you're talking about here, but how do we get companies to move here? I mean, how is Bozeman getting run as a tech? I'm from Billings, and we need more tech companies now.
Sure. And I think the work that Paul Glidden and Blackstone, the work that they're doing, the work that like Doug Walter and Devin Holmes are doing, they're building these new, startup businesses. They're helping entrepreneurs get these businesses out there to get them started at least. And if these businesses can start and grow, then the community should grow right along with it. And if we can keep outputting good quality bootcamp grads, then we're also going to have the workforce for it as well. Yeah, it's a tough one, right? Always want to try to grow that economy, try to grow the community, and how do you do it though? What's the magic formula?
Are you training your students outside of just pure software development, so that those skills can extend to other areas, and obviously there's a lot of context there.
What kind of areas are
so like for me, it's QA. Like that's all I do, and obviously when I talk about automation, I look for engineers.
Sure.
But then also manual QA, or as a consultant also we do things like implementations, which are, there's a parallel path there. Mm-hmm. So do you expose them to
Yeah, so for our core curriculum, we do have kind of a base structure of what we do, and that's just straight web development. We have another 6 to 8 months of project time, and the structure that we have is we try to get outside influence, maybe software developers in the community, or get other people who have these know-hows, and we try to introduce them to things like unit testing. We try to introduce them to other types of technology, other types of applications. I just spoke with a guy in the hallway who wants to present for us, and what he wants to present to us is for those students who are looking to learn many different technologies, but really we're focused here right now. He wants to give kind of an overview of what kind of things to look for, how can we broaden their senses in terms of growing in different directions besides just the focus on JavaScript-based languages. So I think we do our best to make sure that they leave the school well-rounded and have it at least, maybe not like an expertise in those things, but at least a little bit of know-how, so that they're curious about it. And if they do want to take the time on their own to dig deeper into some of those things, they have that ability to do so. Anything else?
Yeah. So sort of on a related line, but I'm very interested in your military background, because one of the opportunities I see for Montana is potentially attracting GI Bill candidates who might want to bring, what's that?
That would be fabulous.
Wouldn't it?
Yes.
Because I think like something like a coach school, like Montana has a huge veteran population. 10% of our civilian population is veterans here. So like third biggest state in the country for veterans. And so I think like, that's a good message that we can get out there, but I'm wondering like, are there ways that military veterans who are looking for opportunities to spend those GI Bill dollars in a good way on an education, like, are there ways, or is it this, like, do we reach them in the same ways that we reach anybody, or are there unique networks that we can tap?
So that goes, the responsibility there goes onto the boot camps, because it is an opportunity. I tried to use my GI Bill because I did have like 3 or 4 months left on my GI Bill after my degree, and I wanted to use that at Dev Mountain, but they hadn't quite set up the framework yet to provide to the VA their structure, their curriculum, the whole outlay of their program. They didn't have that structured yet to be able to provide to the VA. So yes, that does go back to the boot camps to say, hey guys, if you want to encourage the veterans to come back and use their GI Bill, you need to get in contact with the VA to make sure that these systems are set up, because it is an opportunity. You can use your GI Bill for anything. If you want to go for, doing nails or being a hairdresser, those are opportunities for veterans to use their GI Bill. It doesn't necessarily have to be a college degree.
But there's like paperwork, or
there is paperwork
that the code school would have to submit in order to qualify.
Absolutely.
Has there been any discussion yet for Montana?
I have been at Montana Code School for months. So I'm still working with them on many issues, yes, but that is something that we definitely need to get going. That's
Cool.
for sure.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Anything else?
Really quick, I was wondering, maybe I missed something. You said your the boot camps were 3 months, but you said there was 6 to 8 months of project time where they
I probably
Where
said, yeah, I might have
where
said months.
the
Weeks.
other 6 to 8 weeks. Okay,
Yeah, sorry.
All right, sorry.
I
Misspoke. All right, well, if there's nothing else, that's all I've got. Thanks, guys.